So hello and welcome. This is the second video or second session on your fiscal policy. In the very previous video, we talked about certain three major areas about your fiscal policy. We first tried to understand what exactly is fiscal policy. Then we talked about the importance of fiscal policy, and we had a brief discussion about India specific importance of fiscal policy. Then we went into the legal foundation that we have in our constitution regarding the execution or the implementation of the fiscal policy. Then again, we talked about the accounting aspect or the logic, accounting logic behind executing this budget procedure. So why is it so important an activity in a parliament that we talked about? We also talked about the similarities and differences between fiscal policy and monetary policy. If you name certain similarities, both of them work in tandem for the growth of the country, economic growth, or the welfare of the society. And if you point out the differences, basically fiscal policy takes care of the supply side of the economy, whereas your monetary policy takes care of the demand side of the economy. So that's all I think we covered. We covered three important objectives, particularly of Indian fiscal system or Indian fiscal policy implementation. And today in this class, we'll be more into accounting because there are certain aspects or there are certain things which are of utmost importance that you need to understand regarding the accounting aspect of budget, because you often get news or question relating to this. Just like you might be puzzling about what exactly is a deficit, what is fiscal deficit, what is all primary deficit, right? All these things. So we will focus today's session more into the accounting aspect of budget. So I'm sharing with you a presentation. I hope it is visible to all of you.
Yes, sir.
Now, if you think of the entire scheme of the budget, all of you know, right, that budget is composed of two particular things. So let me switch. Whenever we talk about budget, since it is the tools of budget, one part of the fiscal policy, we talked about the taxation, the other one is the appropriation, or what we call as your expenditures. Clear? This is the expenditure side. So in the entire scheme of the budget, you would see certain receipts by the government and the outgo of the government. See, these are all terminology that you should be familiar with. Outgo is the same as appropriation. It is the same thing that we call your expenditure. So we'll talk about them. What are the various kinds of receipts by the government and what are the various kinds of expenditure incurred by the government? So let us go in detail about these two heads, because whenever you see a budget table, I will show you the exact budget table. On one side, we see the receipts, and the other side we see the expenditure, and we do certain things to match them up, because expenditures need to be anyhow financed either by your receipts or by your borrowings. So we'll talk about that in detail. So let's go forward. Let us first start with what are the various expenditure of the government. So the public expenditure of the government, or whatever you say, till 2016 and 17, there was a procedure. It was a kind of, you can say, it was an innovation of the Congress government, that we used to divide the entire expenditure of the government into plan expenditure and non-plan expenditure. This has the direct reference to the Planning Commission. So we are not going to deal or talk much about these expenses because these are outdated. We do not classify our budget expenditure as of now into plan and non-plan expenditure, because we are done away with this Planning Commission, and in place of the Planning Commission we have something called as Niti Aayog, which is a kind of a research or an advisory body. It doesn't have any financial authority. All of you know, can anybody tell me, Planning Commission was a constitutional body or a statutory body or a non-constitutional body? Tell me.
It's non-constitutional, sir.
Yes, because the Planning Commission was an executive body. It doesn't have any legal or a constitutional foundation attached with it. But Gradually, you should know, let me just explain in a very brief, what was the primary need of doing away with this planning commission? Why this government was vehement in closing down this planning commission? Because planning commission was neither a constitutional body nor a statutory body. It didn't have any kind of legal foundation for its operation. So it was a non-constitutional body created by the Congress government, subsequent all governments. But there was a time when the states, many states, all the states, not many states, all the states, they receive a lot of funds from the center. You know this, right? This is the central or the federal government, and states do receive a lot of funds, and these are all legal funds, right? They are mandated by all of you know that your finance commission works for. So whenever a state government gets a fund from the central government, we generally technically we call this as the devolution. Clear? Now, during the tenure of the planning commission, states used to receive two kinds of fund. One was something mandated by the finance commission, and finance commission is a constitutional body. Article number 280 defines finance commission. Clear? The other heads of receipt that the states were receiving was from something allotted by the planning commission. Clear? And these funds generally were kind of discretionary. That means there is no legal foundation that the planning commission should be allotting funds to states. And it was okay if planning commission was made, it was an expert body, it achieved lot many things. Even it has a lot of achievements also. We'll talk about the economic planning in India, wherein we'll talk about the achievement of planning commission during the entire tenure of the 5-year plans. But there came a situation, right? एक ऐसा situation आया wherein the discretionary grant approved by the planning commission, the discretionary grant to the states approved by the planning commission, which was a non-constitutional body, were too much higher. They were too high than the something that is granted constitutionally by the planning commission. For example, let me just give you a very small example. It's not an example, we can compare it this way. For example, think of the state Odisha. There was a situation when Odisha was receiving rupees 10 from the finance commission's recommendation, or which was the legal devolution, whereas it was receiving 30 rupees as the discretionary grant by the planning commission. I'm just giving an example. These are not exact numbers, but don't you think this was something that is not very coherent with the federal policy of us, the constitutional federalism that ensures states the equality, or we cannot say equality, we can rather say equity amongst the state, that there should not be any kind of discrimination in allotment of funds. And this planning commission, it being a non-constitutional body, it was not even answerable to the parliament because it's not a constitutional body. So they had the discretion to allot funds to different states, and there came a situation wherein some states were receiving huge amount of discretionary funds which were way higher than the finance commission recommendations. So is that clear to all of you? And this particular thing, this creation of this particular situation gave all the fire, or all the right, what you say, the reason for the current governmental dispensation to do away with this planning commission. And now we have something called as your Niti Aayog that works as a purely advisory body. It doesn't have any financial power. It simply recommends the government. It doesn't decide. Neither it has that right discretion or that deciding authority that which states should be getting what much. Is that clear to all of you? Now, but the Constitution of India mandates that the entire budget of the India, entire budget, the federal budget or the union budget, has to be mandatorily divided into capital and revenue. That means whenever the government is receiving, no matter whether it is receipts or expenditure, every receipt or every expenditure has to be classified either into capital or into revenue. This is a legal mandate and it's a constitutional mandate. Nobody can do away with this because there is provision in the government that the entire budget has to be divided into capital and revenue. Is that clear? Now let us understand what exactly these are the expenditure of the government. We'll talk about them in depth when we see the table of the budget. Let me just have you a brief review of the receipts by the government. As we talked about expenditure, let's talk about the receipts of the government. The expenditure in an economy is met out by receipts of the government through various sources. The receipts are one sort of receipts are called as revenue. The other kind of receipts are called as capital. So let me here help you out with what do you understand when I say a revenue receipt or a revenue expenditure? What does it mean actually? Any expenditure or any receipt that doesn't create any liability or it doesn't reduce the value of an asset is called a receipt. Is called a revenue receipt. If it is expenditure, it is called revenue expenditure. If it is a receipts, we call this as a revenue receipts. And next about capital. So anything, when do we call something to be a capital receipt? That means if you are receiving anything that is creating any liability, clear? If it is creating any kind of liability, then it is called a capital receipt. So as is in the case of your expenditure. If any expenditure is being made for creation of an asset or increase in the value, total value of an asset, then it is called a capital expenditure. Let me give you certain examples जो आपको बहुत easy होगा समझने के लिए in a practical sense. Think of our very example. We are right. Somebody is in Hyderabad, somebody is in Goa, somebody is in right Odisha, somebody is in West Bengal, somebody in Northeast. We all are gathering right for the class. Let's take up this particular economic activity. Yes, I am dictating. You all are learning. So there are certain expenditure and there are certain receipts in this entire economic procedure that you pay to the institute and you get in return the classes. Now, think of running one particular business. Think about any educational institute. Let's take, for example, EcoPros. It has an office, and for the office, EcoPro has to pay rent. When you open the office, you need to pay for the electricity bill because you use the electricity only when your institute is open. Yes or no? For example, I am taking up classes. I need to have internet. So I need to pay for the internet. And when do I pay for this internet? Only when I'm taking your classes. Understand the nature. For example, think of this camera. The camera that I use costs more than ₹1,00,000. That 1,00,000 rupees has to be called a capital expenditure. And why is it so? For example, I invested 1,00,000 rupees to buy a camera. Whether I'm taking classes or not, is it going to impact the usage of that particular camera? No, because you have already bought it. Whether you make use of that in the classes or not, that is up to the institution or that is decided by me. But once you do it, it is spent. But think about the internet recharge that I do. When do I switch on this camera and take up your classes, or I use internet, or I use AC? Only when I'm doing some activity. Are you getting it? So the internet recharge, if you are recharging and not using it, it doesn't seem something like that, because we recharge only when we use. Think of electricity. Think of the light bulb that glows to make your class look more aesthetic. It is switched on only when you are making some, right? You are doing some kind of activity. So this is the particular difference between capital and revenue. You got it? This is a very basic example for you all. Is that clear? For example, you might be taking up this class through a mobile or a computer. Once you buy a computer, it is up to you whether you are using that computer for your classes or not. If you can simply buy a computer and keep it at your right, आप अपने घर में रख सकते हैं. So once you buy it, right, you are into right whether you used your fund or you took a loan and bought it or something. So it is adding up the value. Either you can consider that laptop to be an asset, so it is increasing it, or else you have taken a loan, so it has created liability. So this, in this particular sense, we call that computer to be your capital asset, capital expenditure, or capital. In case of receipts, it's capital receipts. But in case of revenue, think of the revenue, for example. When you use that computer, you use electricity, obviously. That electricity is used only when you switch on the computer. You are not paying up the electricity, or you are not consuming the electricity when you are not using. This is the basic difference between your capital and revenue. So in order to run your day-to-day operations, whatever expenditure you make, that's called a revenue expenditure or capital expenditure. Tell me, in order to carry out your operations, so operational expenses, that means those expenses only happen when there is operation. They are called as your revenue expenses. Is that clear to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Think of
Yeah.
salary
Sir,
paid to the
sir,
staff.
suppose that we both bought a camera
Yes.
and you made money you made a lot of money because using this camera and giving classes, let's say. I just simply kept it in Almara and didn't use it. Then is it something like it will become for a capital receipt, and if I took the loan, then it is capital expenditure for me?
Yes, obviously. Think of you are buying a camera for a business purpose. Clear? There has to be a purpose behind buying anything. So we are talking about business here. So if you bought the camera, it has to be a capital expenditure. And if you have taken a loan, it is obviously it is creating a liability. Or else, if you have made some profit and out of that profit money you bought a camera, earlier you were not having that much of asset. This camera particularly is adding up to the asset value. Yes or no?
Yes.
So that is your capital expenditure. Got it?
So you are saying that even if you got the money also, still it is a capital expenditure?
Yes, exactly. It's a capital expenditure.
Once if you brought it, then it's a capital expenditure.
Yes.
Okay.
Think of now, if I'm selling this camera, clear?
Okay.
I will get some money. That's a receipt automatically. If I'm selling something, I'm getting money. So it's a receipt. So which kind of receipt is it? Is it revenue or it is capital? It is capital receipt because I lowered the value of total assets with me. Yes or no?
Yes.
So any change in the net assets or net liability leads to something called as capital. If it is a receipt, it is called receipt, or it is expenditure, it is called capital expenditure. But think of the revenue. When do we call something to be revenue? Think of salary, for example. We have around 10 to 12 people working with us. So when do I pay them salary? Only when they're working. Are you getting it?
Yes, yes.
So that expenditure has to be a revenue expenditure. Clear? So this is the basic difference between capital and revenue. So the
Sir, can we say that capital is something like it's continuous, but revenue is like switch on and off? You can off it.
Yes, exactly. Repetitive nature you would see in case of your revenue things. Clear? They get repeated.
Recurring.
Yes, recurring. You keep on paying electricity bill months after month. But if you do, you keep on buying ACs? No, you buy it once, right? Clear?
Yes, sir.
So the entire budget, the entire heads of expenditure and the entire heads of receipts, they have to be categorically classified either into capital and expenditure. And this is a constitutional mandate. We have to do it actually. Clear? Now, other total receipts, think of other than revenue and capital receipts, of the total receipts, 90% is revenue, 10% is capital receipt. This is very endemic to the Indian budget. Clear? In the India's budget case, we have around 90% of our receipts in the revenue head, whereas 10% in our capital heads. Clear? We'll go about those individual heads when we see the table. But can somebody now tell me what could be the receipts, revenue receipts? Think of the government. What are the different revenue receipts by the government? Tell me.
So income tax.
Obviously, all the taxes. All the taxes.
GST, all the tax.
All the taxes. They are all revenue receipts. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Then can you say revenue receipts can be again of two types? One is tax receipts. The other one is non-tax receipts. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So we have grouped all the taxes into one. So can you give certain example of non-tax revenue receipts?
Interest receipts, external grants.
Okay.
Dividends.
Dividends, yes, obviously. Do you have the logic behind why do we call dividend to be a revenue receipts?
Sir,
Yes, sir.
penalties.
Yes, all the fines,
So
all the
stamp duties.
penalties, all the duties, stamp duties, all the fees collected by government. Clear? They are all non-tax revenue receipts. Why do you consider?
Sir,
Yes.
for creation of Aadhaar, they'll take some charges, no, sir. Even that will come under non-tax revenue.
Which one? Which one?
For getting Aadhaar card, they'll take
Yes,
some charges.
all the fees that you pay, user fee or fees.
Yeah.
Clear? And
Okay,
why
sir.
are they grouped into revenue receipts? Because government gets that money or charges you that money only when it provides you services. Clear?
Yes, sir.
So that's all revenue. So the entire set of revenue receipts can be again regrouped into tax receipts and non-tax receipts. Clear? And can somebody tell me why is dividend a revenue receipts? When do you get dividend? You have invested into a company that made a profit. A part of the profit is being redistributed amongst the shareholders. Clear? But in order to get this money, you had invested something. Clear? Then how come it is a revenue receipts? Why? What is the nature of dividend that entitle it to be a revenue receipts?
Dividend is taxable, sir.
Yes, it is taxable. That's fine. Even
Only
if
if there is a profit, we will get dividend.
Yes, but I want to know the reason actually. What is the nature of dividend that qualifies it to be a revenue receipts? Don't you think dividend you get at every quarter, every month, or every year, something like that? It has
Yes.
that recurrence, yes or no?
Yes, sir.
It gets repeated. Clear? When you say interest, what about interest?
It's
Either
recurring.
you get interest every month or you pay interest every month, right? So it has to be a revenue expenditure or revenue receipts.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Got it? Understand these things because you should not be confused and questions would be confusing. You got it? So one thing that we learned that capital thing happens once or very less time. There is no repetition of capital thing, whether it is expenditure or think of disinvestment. Whenever government is selling any kind of PSU or something, so it is getting a bulk of money, but does it get repetitively?
No,
You
sir.
sell it once, you get 100 times. No, you don't get it. You get it once. Clear? Or in parts, for example. So these all are all capital receipts automatically. Clear? Now, the components of the primary source of revenue receipts is tax. 84% of the total receipts. These numbers could be little bit upper niche. Are you getting it? The current budget, the session that I will take after the conclusion of this series, that budget 2021-22 will give you the exact figures. Clear? The components of revenue receipts other than taxes are dividends received by the government from the public sector, payment of interest by the state government. Central government also gives a lot of loans. Clear? So it receives interest also. So these are revenue receipts. Capital receipts, the government comprise of recoveries of loan. Why do we consider recovery of loan to be a capital receipts? Tell me.
With that, we can create an asset after recovering
Yes.
them.
Yes. When you recover a loan, you had given a loan and you recovered the principal. We are not considering the interest here. Are you getting it? This recovery of loan means only the principal recovery, not the interest. Clear? Grants, assistance received by the government. These are all capital receipts. Got it? Next. There is something called as ways and means advances. Understand this thing. What exactly? Because it is very important also from exam point of view. Government's expenditure and the government receipts have a typical time lag. They do not happen simultaneously actually. Government spends things first and it receives things late. Yes or no? The receipt of the government lags behind the expenditure. Yes or no? Think of this. The entire tax. Generally, people pay tax at the end. But do you think government would wait to get those taxes to spend on the essential things? No. It has to keep on spending and it receives almost all the receipts on a later stage. So there is a time gap between the expenditure of the government and the receipts of the government. Are you getting it? सरकार को पैसा मिलता है और सरकार का जो खर्चा होता है उसके बीच there is a considerable amount of time gap and these amounts are very big. गवर्नमेंट का एक्सपेंडिचर बहुत ज्यादा बड़ा अमाउंट होता है. The amount of expenditure of governments are too big. So we need to have a financing mechanism that would finance the expenditure of the government till it receives the funds. Yes or no? In order to match up this time gap, we need to have a kind of mechanism that would finance the expenditure of the government. Government cannot wait to receive taxes to run the hospital, to run the trains, or to provide you the defense force, defense security. Government has to make the expenditure before it receives the taxes. Yes or no? So this time gap, in order to manage this time gap or the time lag between the expenditure of the government and the receipts, we have a mechanism called as ways and means advances. And this is something called as the loans provided by the Reserve Bank of India to the government of India in order to manage this gap between expenditure and receipts. Got it? So, if there is a temporary mismatch between the government receipts and expenditure in a financial year, to meet this mismatch, the Reserve Bank of India provides temporary overdraft, or it's a loan also, to the government through the ways and means advances. This overdraft facility is for a time period of 90 days, and the amount of overdraft is 20,000 crores during the April to September and 6,000 crore during the October to March. But it gets revised very often. Are you getting it? These numbers are not static, though there are certain standard numbers, but these numbers keep on updating because you would get a news very recently that Reserve Bank has increased the ways and means advance. So this is this subject is of a current affairs related or current event. We need to track things what exactly is the current situation, and it could be a news. It must be a news in the last 2 to 3 months. It must be a news. Yes or no, Pratyut?
Yes sir. वो last year change भी हुआ था states के लिए भी more मतलब
so
time
this is something that you need to draw out of the current affairs. So but remember, for the time being, Reserve Bank sets something, but it keeps changing. Clear? So it is 20,000 crore during the April to September, this half H1, and for the H2 or the second half of the year, it is 6,000 crore, but it keeps on changing. It keeps on revising as per the contingency requirement of the government. Clear? But this thing, understand what is the logic. There is a time mismatch between the receipts of the government and the expenditure, and in order to fund this mismatch, Reserve Bank extends an overdraft facility to the government so that the government doesn't shut down. Next, the relation between the debt creating capital receipts and non-debt creating capital receipts. Yes, the capital receipts can be again divided into debt. Generally, we have seen capital means it either creates a debt or it changes the value of the asset. So there are certain capital receipts which are called as debt creating capital receipts, and there are certain which are non-debt creating capital receipts. Let us examine these all things. When government takes fresh loans, it is creating what? It is creating a debt. It will mean that in future these loans will have to be returned or with interest, will have to be paid on those loans. Similarly, when the government sells an asset, it means that in future its earning from that asset will disappear, yes or no? If you are selling an asset, if you are selling an PSU, you are no more going to receive any dividend from that because you are losing your ownership. Clear? Thus, these receipts can be debt creating or non-debt creating. That means if the government is taking up a loan, then it is creating debt. You need to pay the principal as well as the interest in future. So that's a debt creating capital receipts. But in case of disinvestment, when a government sells some asset, then it gets the entire lump sum. So what it is losing? It is losing the dividend rights for the future time. Future mein, since no government is no more the owner because it has divested out of it, it is impacting its revenue receipts in the form of dividend. But there is no creation of extra liability. Are you getting it? In case of selling an asset, you are not creating any more debt. So that the receipt that you get, that the government gets from the disinvestment are non-debt creating capital receipts. Is that clear to all of you? So loan is a debt creating capital. Loan has to be repaid with interest. It's a debt obligation. On the other hand, the money received by the government through the stake sale or the disinvestment in a public sector enterprise is a non-debt creating. It's a capital receipt, but it's a non-debt creating capital receipt. Got it? So again, the non-debt capital receipts of the union government include recoveries of the loans, advances given to state governments, union territories and foreign governments, money accrued to the union government from listing. Listing refers to a company's share being included on the list of the stock that are officially traded when you go for a IPO or listing in the stock market. So these two are the areas, particularly these three are the areas majorly which have this non-debt creating capital receipts or source of time. So you should be very comfortable with all these entries, because there could be a question out of the so and so which one is not a non-debt creating or a debt creating capital receipts. Clear? Is that clear to you?
Yes, sir.
So think of the IPO. For example, now government is planning to go for IPO of the LIC, Life Insurance Corporation. So while listing the market, when it will list in the market, the money that the government gets, who will get? Government will get, because government has the majority stake. So the initial money that will come by subscription of its share in the initial public offer, that money will go to whom? The government or the promoter. Is it creating any debt? Tell me. When you list your share in the stock market, when people subscribe for the very first time for your shares, that's called as initial allotment or IPO, initial public offer. The money that you get, is it a debt capital? Tell me.
No, equity capital.
It's an equity capital. It doesn't have any debt obligation. Yes or no? We call this is why we call this as equity or risk capital. Clear? So whenever you are selling your shares, when you are receiving anything by selling your shares, the money that you receive, it doesn't create any debt. It's an equity. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
The government further classifies. Yes, please.
सर ये जो रिकवरीज ऑफ लोन है उसमें भी तो प्रिंसिपल अमाउंट जब रिकवर होता है तभी तो कैपिटल होगा ना, इंटरेस्ट तो रेवेन्यू में जाएगा.
इंटरेस्ट और रेवेन्यू है ना. आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट रिकवरीज ऑफ लोन. टर्म जब भी यूज होता है, दैट इज एवरी टाइम अबाउट प्रिंसिपल. Okay. Next, the government further classifies the disinvestment proceeds into disinvestment receipts, strategic disinvestment receipts, listing of PSU in the stock market, issue of the bonus share. So these are all the areas wherein government gets money by disinvestment. Clear? When you go for an IPO, you are disinvesting, right? Because you had the entire ownership. Now you are selling that ownership to somebody. This is called as disinvestment. So these are the heads wherein government receives money, and they all together we can call them as to be disinvestment proceeds. Next, let us now compare the revenue receipts with your capital receipts. We'll compare these two, the revenue and the capital receipts, on three particular heads. First one would be effect, third one will be occurrence, and the third one would be your asset and liability stage. First of all, let us classify revenue receipts and capital receipts. Let us differentiate amongst them on the basis of the effect. What effect does it have on the asset? Revenue receipt, it has short-term effect. The benefit is enjoyed within one accounting period. Clear? If it is the benefit, receipt is benefit. Whereas in case of capital receipt, it has long-term effect. The benefit is enjoyed for many years in future because the amount is very big, generally. Next, if you think of occurrence, revenue receipts, it occurs repeatedly or it has a recurrence impact. It is recurring and regular. Capital receipt, it doesn't occur again and again. It is non-recurring or irregular. Third, on the basis of asset and liabilities, revenue receipt, this doesn't increase or decrease the value of any asset or liability, whereas capital receipts capital receipt decreases the value of an asset and increases the value of a liability. For example, sale of a fixed asset or loan from a bank. Is that clear to all of you? These are the basic difference between the concept of your revenue receipts and capital receipts. Is that clear to all of you?
Yes, sir. Sir, in defense and all, like we have both the I mean day-to-day expenses as well as creating capital also. So how to classify that, sir?
You need to classify them. Which money is being spent or whatever you are receiving, where from it came or in what all things you are spending. That decides its basic nature, whether it is revenue or it is capital. Think of whatever money you received today or spent today. You spent some money today.
Yes,
Did
sir.
you spend something today?
Yes, yes.
Okay. What did you do with that? In what all things you spent?
My day-to-day expenses,
Okay.
like
Like,
recharging
for
my
example,
mobile phone,
mobile
recharging my
phone
cell.
recharge, right? So that's a revenue expenditure
Yeah.
naturally,
Yes, sir.
because you make the recharge only when you use it.
Yes, sir.
Clear. But do you know this particular thing this has a kind of, so far as your classes are concerned, you might have an intention of recharging your mobile on a higher top up to get the classes, yes or no? Because you are using more internet now.
Yes, sir.
Understand this particular thing. Though generally mobile recharges are considered to be your what do you say, revenue expenditures, but they have an ingrained capital thing in them actually, because maybe these days you will be recharging on a higher node, right?
Yes,
Because
sir.
you are using more internet. And in what all things you are using that? In taking up the classes, which is an economically productive activity for you. You are making the higher recharge only because you are attending more classes and you are using more internet. So it has a combinational thing. But in case of business finance, these are very common, right? You won't get these messy things. Clear. In case
Okay.
of business or economic activity, they're very clear. You cannot call electricity being supplied to a plant to be any kind of right capital expenditure. Installation of the electric facility is capital. You set up a grid or substation or something, that's capital. But the electricity bill you pay every day, that has to be revenue. Are you getting it?
Yes, sir.
Clear. Next, let's talk about the expenditures now. So expenditures are again of two kinds, revenue expenditure and capital expenditure. The main items of revenue expenditures are interest payments, yes or no? Government issues lots of bonds, it takes lots of loan, it pays interest. They have, since interest payment are repetitive, they have to be revenue expenditure. Defense services, their revenue or capital, tell me.
Revenue, services, revenue.
Yes, services, defense services are purely revenue. Subsidies,
Revenue,
yes.
expenditure.
Salaries and pensions.
Revenue expenditure.
Some of this expenditure is also referred to as charge expenditures. Clear? So far as your budget is concerned, right? Let me make you just clear something about very interesting. In case of your budget, you would see something called as some of the expenditure would be called as vote on account. The other would be called as charged expenditure. What is the difference between these two? So this is a very polity kind of questions, but you should know. Vote on account means what? In order to make expenditure on, right, there used to be lot many vote on accounts. There will be different heads of expenditure and each of these heads are called as vote on account. What means when something is called as vote on account? That means the expenditure on one particular head, for example, name the head A, B, C, D. If these are all vote on accounts, the expenditure being incurred in these heads can be discussed, they can be voted, they can be rejected. You got it? For example, government introducing some scheme and it is telling that on this particular head will be spending this much. So that is a vote on account. But there are certain expenditures which are called a charge on the constitution of, so on the consolidated fund of India. They are simply called as charged expenditure. What does that mean? That means you can have discussion about them in the parliament. You can discuss during the budget, but you cannot vote. They are simply charged on the expenditure of consolidated fund of India. That means the Supreme Court of India, or almost, right, salaries of the Supreme Court judges, maintenance of the law and order, right, law system or the legal system, sorry, not law and order, the legal mechanism, court expenses, they have to be president's salary. They're all charged expenses. They can be discussed. They can be discussed, but they cannot be voted because they are all charged expenditures. There's a difference between vote on account and charge expenditure. Next, about capital expenditure. Yes, please.
ये one rank one pension वाला किसमें जाएगा?
One rank one pension. That's absolutely vote on account.
लेकिन pension में भी तो जा रहा है सर.
Pension is a vote on account.
अच्छा, pension is a vote charge.
Yes. Capital expenditure, that means capital expenditure is part of the government spending that goes into creation of assets like schools, colleges, infrastructure, hospitals, roads, bridges, dams, railway lines, airports, seaports, and all sort of things, right? So this is very much important. If you want to grow, you need to have capital expenditures. So the examples of capital expenditures are like loan disbursal by the government when government extends loan. So loans are always capital. Remember this thing. Whenever it is a loan, whether if you are receiving, then it's a capital receipt. If you are giving, it's a capital expenditure. Loan repayment by the government, plan expenditure of the government, capital expenditure on the defense by the government. Understand, defense services is a revenue expenditure, whereas capital expenditure on the improvement of the defense by the government is a capital expenditure. For example, government is now acquiring, for example, government will think of acquiring the new, right, Iron Dome technology which was produced by your Israel. Now South Korea has developed maybe some advanced kind of, it is generally assumed to be somewhat better than the Iron Dome technology of Israel. So government will now make a budgetary provision that we need to buy that thing. So it's a case of modernization. Clear? And you know, the yes, defense budget of India, as per the recommendation of DB Sekatkar committee, there was a constituted committee of DB Sekatkar. Clear? He was a lieutenant general, maybe, I do not remember rank. As per his recommendation, do you know what the particular characteristics of India's defense budget? 85% of the India's defense budget is revenue expenditure.
Pension and salary.
Pension and salaries. Only 15% is about your capital expenditure. So they are trying to now trim down unnecessary forces, or they are going for integration. The entire department of Army Postal Services is dismantled. It was made civilian. Clear? I will give you some more examples. There used to be cows, big number of cow sets used to be there. Garages, for example, there were mechanics, right? People used to get recruited to be mechanics. There are certain contingency requirements, they need to be there. But now private employers, for example, private people, they are now going and maintaining the vehicles, tanks and everything. So they are now going for a kind of, they're making more a lean force, right? They're fighting more lean fighting force. So these are all the recommendations to bring in pragmatism into the governmental or the defense budget. So next, general services, other liability.
The loan disbursal means loan disbursal means it's giving the loan, no?
Giving loan, yes.
But we are giving the loan and paying the loan, both are capital expenditure.
Paying of the loan, yes, it's an expenditure. When
even giving the loan is also capital.
Sorry?
I mean, the first sentence says that loan disbursal by the government.
Yes, it's an expenditure for the government. Yes or no? Tell me first.
Okay, then both are like expenditure. Like disbursal is expenditure and repayment is also expenditure.
Yes, if government is taking a loan from somebody, if it is repaying, then it's an expenditure. Yes or no?
That's expenditure. But giving the loan?
Yes, it is also an expenditure. Is it receipt anyway? Giving a loan is any kind of receipt?
No. It is like...
It is an expenditure, yes or no?
Yes, sir.
You have to either classify that into either receipts or outgo. We generally do not use the word expenditure in legal terms so far as your budget is concerned. They are generally called as outgoes. Clear? You would see the budget document, वहाँ पे expenditure नहीं लिखा रहेगा, वहाँ पे outgo लिखा होगा. So in case of disbursal of a loan, it's an outgo. It means same as the expenditure, but it's an outgo. Clear?
Yeah, but how can something can be giving the loan and taking, I mean, paying the loan, both can be expenditure?
You just answered this. Forget about this word expenditure. Is it qualifying this outgo?
Yeah, it's outgoing from the government, yes.
Yes. Understand that much, and that's why in budget we mention that particular word as outgo. But we often tell this to be an expenditure, but it's naturally it's not an expenditure.
Yeah, yeah.
It's an outgo.
Yes, yes.
Clear. You will, when you see the legal text document of budget of India, na, you would see वहाँ पे expenditure नहीं लिखा होगा. There would be outgo by the government. Clear. Next. So the importance of capital expenditure, all of you know this. What exactly is the role of capital expenditure? High capital expenditure usually means more investment by the government towards creation of infrastructure and other assets that are crucial for rapid economic growth. Capital expenditure means construction of road, highways, all major infrastructure, whatever you see, including both physical as well as social. When you spend on education, right, that's an investment. That's a capital investment, though it is social or soft infrastructure, whatever you say. Physical infrastructure and social infrastructure. Social infrastructure, that means health and education. Building a hospital is just not spent expenditure on the health. Rather, training your doctors, equipping them more, or enabling them more on a higher technology, or enabling your ASA workers to play the role of a compounder or a right your pharmacist or something. So this is called as enabling, right? You need to invest on that training. So though this is not a very physical infrastructure, but yes, this is a social infrastructure. You are investing. These are called as soft infrastructure at times. Clear? Next, capital expenditure means, next is India experienced low growth rate for decades, low growth rates for decades as it failed to develop physical and social infrastructure, the key to achieving high economic growth. Because the rate of capital formation, somebody maybe very recently asked me about this. Ronit, maybe perhaps you asked, what is, sir, the rate of capital asset formation? This is what is rate of capital asset formation. Rate of capital formation, not capital itself is an asset. The rate of capital formation is very much, it has a very strong correlation with your overall economic growth, because once you create asset, that will automatically give you right different production, different many things. You can make use of those things in the economic activity. Is that clear to all of you? So capex plays, or the capital expenditure plays, a very important role so far as your economic growth is considered. Now, let us now talk about the nature and types of budget in India. So see, I was talking about this particular table. Clear? This is how a typical budget document looks like. The table about which we talk, this table, I will explain the heads on one by one. Be very, very focused about this, because this thing will clarify a lot many things, जो कि maybe शायद आपका confusion अब तक रहा हो. So let us start. So whenever you go for a summary of the budget, you look for these all tables. So what are there in this particular table? ऐसे क्या सारे चीजें हैं? What are the different things that are contained in this particular table? Let's have a complete look into this. So first one is, we are talking about your receipts of the government, and within that we are talking about the revenue receipts. Clear? So in the revenue receipts, what will be there? Tell me, what are the different heads of revenue receipts? Mostly your tax receipts and non-tax receipts, yes or no? We discussed about them. What are there are
Yes.
your revenue receipts can be again classified into tax and non-tax. Next, the next head of receipt is called as capital receipts. So when you add your revenue receipts and capital receipts, what will you get? Total receipts, yes or no? When you add your capital receipts plus revenue receipts, what will you get? You will get the total receipts. Clear? So that's why it is written 1 plus 4 means 1 is your revenue receipts, 4 is your capital receipts. So what are the different entries within capital receipts? Recovery of loans, that means this is the principal, not the interest portion. All of you got it. Other receipts, borrowing and other liabilities. Borrowing and other liabilities means you receive something, and we have already discussed any kind of loans or borrowing are every time classified to be in the capital domain. Clear? So when you add all of them, you get the total receipts of the government. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Now let us go to the expenditure. Expenditure are generally not written just as your revenue and capital. They are generally written as total expenditure. They are generally written like this. Clear? So let us understand ki kya hai. The total expenditure of the government is this much, but out of that, on revenue account of which the total expenditure on revenue account kitna hua? This much. On capital account kitna hua? That means this is your capital expenditure, this is your revenue expenditure. This is your revenue expenditure, this is your capital expenditure. You got it?
Yes, sir.
Understand this. Just look into those numbers. One is 3,35,726. The other one is, are you seeing the difference?
23 lakhs.
Are you all trying to see the difference? That means
Yes, sir.
majority of our expenditures are revenue expenditures.
Revenue expenditure.
Clear? There is nothing right there to remember these numbers, because we'll be getting the last budget 2021-22 budget we'll discuss in detail, wherein you can remember the numbers. But for your just a brief idea about our fiscal numbers, how are they generally? Clear? So now by this time we have our total receipts. Out of that we have your revenue receipts number, the capital receipts number, and we have the total expenditure also, and we have revenue and capital expenditures. Now let us talk about this particular revenue expenditure. We'll talk about this revenue expenditure somewhat in detail, because there are certain figures which are very much important, and they are kind of, you can say, they are hidden within that. Out of this revenue expenditure, how much has been your interest payment? All of you know this, interest receipt or interest payment, both of them are revenue in nature. So whenever you are paying off something, you are paying interest, then it is an expenditure. And it's an which kind of expenditure? It's a revenue expenditure. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Any difficulty in the logic? Any one of you? There
No,
should
sir.
not be any difficulty actually. Clear? We all of us know interest goes into the category of revenue. So whenever you are paying interest, it's an revenue expenditure. Clear? Now, so out of the total revenue expenditure, this is our interest payment. See the number, 61,000. Sorry, 6,12,000 something. Whereas grant in aid for the creation of the capital assets, understand this thing. Grant in aid for the creation of capital assets. Understand the difference. I will give an example wherein you can actually understand. See, central government might give something to the states. Clear? For example, now there is very high flood in the Himachal, there are landslide and everything. Clear? Now, for example, government of India gave to the state around, for example, let us give 1,000 crore. Let us assume it gave 1,000 crore. Out of this 1,000 crore, so when central government is giving to the state, it is an revenue expenditure for the central government, yes or no? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Now, but out of this 1,000 crore rupees, what Himachal Pradesh did actually, Himachal Pradesh invested rupees 800 crore in the rehabilitation, whereas understand and listen this properly, no background noise, please mute yourself. Himachal Pradesh, let us assume it got 1,000 rupees. So the money that was given by the central government is an expenditure for the central government automatically, and it is in which category of investment? Which category of expenditure? It has to be a revenue expenditure. Clear? Because it's a grant to the state. But out of this 1,000, when Himachal Pradesh received, it invested or it spent rupees 800 crore out of the 1,000 in the restoration and rehabilitation, whereas it invested 200 crore rupees in creation of new capital assets. Got it? Though it received money in the form of revenue, but it invested that money in the creation of capital asset, not the entirety, but a portion of that. You got it now? And it's a very common phenomenon, right? For example, there was a kind of very cyclonic storm, right, called as Fani. All of you must be very aware, because Odisha is very prone to these cyclonic storms. So let us assume the same thing happened with Odisha. Odisha received 1,000 crore rupees. It invested, or it spent 800 crore in restoration. So restoration means it brought everything to as it were. But now it created one more dike to prevent the sea water from flooding, which was not at all existing before this Fani. Now it created a new infrastructure. Though it received the entire money in the form of revenue from the central government, but it is investing some portion of that in the creation of the asset. Are you getting it? So this is this particular head. You got it? The understanding or the meaning behind this head. Grant in aid to the state, which was on the revenue account, but the state made some more capital assets by making use of the funds. So this is this particular head. You got it now?
So does it mean, so out of the 23 lakhs, 1,85,000 is spent on capital assets?
Yes, yes. Now you can get it now. Out of the 23 lakh rupees of revenue expenditure, right, 1,85,000 has been actually there has been some asset creation also. But why it is in the revenue account actually? Because that expenditure for the central government has been a revenue expenditure, because it was given in the form of grant to the states. But ultimately, not the entirety of this, a portion of that was invested for creation of new capital assets, or capital asset addition, you can say it, creation, whatever you say. Got it?
Sir, if India receives external grants from other countries,
Sometimes.
that comes under revenue?
Tell me, will it come under revenue?
The point number 7, borrowing and other liabilities.
Yes. Not
That's
other
not a
liability.
liability, no, sir. We should not
It's
return
not a
it back.
liability, but all the grants, for example, whenever the government is getting an external grant, for example, very recently, which government declared financial help for our immunization program? Tell me. Vaccination program. Very recently, a government declared. Secretary of State of the United States is recently visited India. Perhaps he's in India still. He declared around 200 million, maybe. Number I do not remember. These all things will come in your exam actually, which you might skip generally, but these all numbers will come. The name of the Secretary of the State of the United States, how much amount was sanctioned.
Anthony Blinken.
Sorry?
Anthony Blinken.
Yes. There is a topic in the news, right? All the eyes on Lincoln, right? So this is all. This is how it goes. So I hope all of you are clear on different heads of the budget now. The entire set of expenditure, the entire set of your receipts. And there is no difficulty, I think, right?
So suppose India got a grant from World Bank.
In the form of what? Grant or loan? Tell me very clearly.
Okay, let's say it is a grant and it's a loan, like both, mixture of both.
So tell me, you tell. If
so
it's
what,
a loan,
so if it is a loan, then it is in point number 7, right? Other liabilities, because we need to pay it.
Yes, yes, we need to pay.
If it is a grant, then
it's a revenue receipt.
Tell me. Tell me, external grants would qualify to which category? Tell me.
Sir, I think it comes under non-tax revenue of revenue receipts.
Do you think grants, they come often?
Expenditure.
External grants. I'm talking about particularly external grants. Do you think they come repetitively? They keep on coming? Tell me. Does India keep on getting grants from all over the world? I'm talking about it's very erratic.
Yes.
So if it is not recurring, then it will go under which category?
Capital.
Automatically. Clear. But grant to states is a repetitive affair. Are you getting it?
Yes, sir.
Clear? We have our fiscal system like that states keep on getting grants repetitively. Clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Got it.
Got it. Now, next, let us now calculate. See, we see a difference of what? See, the total expenditure and total receipts both are the same. But in case of your receipts, which all are, you can say, what do you say? Generic receipts, and which are all managed receipts? Tell me. Generic receipts is everything other than your borrowing and other liabilities. Got it? We simply had to borrow this much because we need to spend this much. We don't have enough money to make the expenditure because our expenditures far exceed our generic receipts. So we had to borrow something. Yes or no? The central government had to borrow something. Clear? And this particular thing is called as a deficit budget. Understood? Whenever the expenditure of the government exceeds the receipts, it's called a deficit budget. If it is equal, it's a balanced budget. If it is surplus, that means receipts are more than the expenditure, then it's a surplus budget. But you should not be surprised that we have managed to make the expenditure equal to our receipts by what? In the form of the shortfall was managed by borrowing and other liabilities. Is that clear to all of you?
Yes, sir.
So we were spending more than our generic resource mobilization capacity. So we had to borrow. Clear? Now.
Yes, sir.
Now let us go. What is revenue deficit? What is revenue deficit? Revenue deficit is equal to what?
Revenue expenditure minus receipt.
Automatically, revenue expenditure minus the revenue receipts. That's your revenue deficit. Clear? So when you 10 minus 1, all of you know this. I don't have to explain you much. Now, let us go to fiscal deficit. Let us talk about effective revenue deficit. What exactly is this primary deficit? A very interesting concept I'm going to explain you now. Tell me what would be your effective revenue deficit. We saw revenue expenditure minus the revenue receipt to be your revenue deficit. But out of that, we have seen some portion of the revenue expenditure was used for creation of capital assets. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Just as we discussed now.
Yeah, point number 12.
Got it? The entry number 12, about which I had a good discussion about, this is what? This is one revenue expenditure, but ultimately that is going for the creation of capital assets, though unknowingly. Clear? Now, when you remove that particular thing from the primary deficit, that means you are getting the effective primary deficit. You got it now? When you remove out the contribution of the revenue expenditure that was used by the states for creation of capital assets, something that you get is called as your effective revenue deficit. So which one is more progressive, you can say? Which one is more real? The primary deficit or effective real primary deficit? Effective primary deficit is more practical.
More real.
Clear? Next. Now let's talk about the fiscal deficit. This fiscal deficit is that particular gap about which I was telling, that every time our expenditures are higher than our revenue. So that particular gap. Clear? And what is the other name of that gap? How do we match up that gap? How do we match up that gap? Through borrowing and liabilities. Clear? So that particular borrowing and liability is nothing other than your fiscal deficit. Got it?
Yes, sir.
Next. Now let's come back to what exactly is primary deficit. Very interesting thing. Perhaps you would rarely get such a beautiful explanation for what exactly is primary deficit. Okay, before that, before discussing what exactly is primary deficit, do you know who devised this particular concept of primary deficit?
Sir Manmohan Singh.
Yes, Dr. Manmohan Singh devised this particular concept of primary deficit. Let me explain you, and you can very well judge the caliber or the authority on economics that Dr. Singh has. He has proven times and again And this one thing would increase your respect toward Dr. Singh also. Think of the fiscal deficit. What exactly is fiscal deficit? It is the portion that we borrow from somewhere to manage our expenditure. That's called your fiscal deficit. Now, just imagine, treat any particular government to be a company. Clear? Treat the particular government to be a company. If you want to judge the financial management ability of a company, what would you do? Look for. You need to ask for, show me the balance sheet, show me the income statement, yes or no. You would look for these two major documents. Show me the balance sheet, show me the income statement, yes or no. And here comes the question. The budget particularly is a financial document of which nature? Is it a balance sheet or it's an income statement? Tell me. It qualifies which category of accounting documents? Remember, no, it's not a balance sheet. It's an income statement. Clear? Because we are talking about one particular financial year. Just ask yourself in the night after this class, you will get all the answer. Why it is an income statement? It's an income statement actually. Okay. Now, if you want to judge the financial management ability of a particular set of managers, who are all the managers? These all, right? Finance ministry, I mean, prime minister, the entire governmental dispensation is the executing body or the management. So if there is someone who is trying to judge the financial management capability of a particular set of managers, then he would look for the financials. Clear? Now, they compare the performance of this particular set of managers who are working for this particular year with the very previous year. How would you compare whether they have done good or bad? You need to make a comparison. And what is the best thing to compare? Compare with the previous or any past years. Yes or no? How was the previous management? Are you getting it? This is how we compare. How do you decide the incentive for them? You need to make a historical comparison. So when you compare, you discover something really interesting. First of all, on the very first thing, when you compare earlier, I'm taking up certain numbers for your easy help. Earlier, let us take up 2 years, 2020, the other one is 2021. So we are in the year 2021 and we are making comparison with the very previous year. Since you are observing or you are calculating or you are trying to calculate, you saw something very beautiful thing happening. Earlier, the size of the budget was rupees 100 and these guys, the current management team has increased the budget size to 150. So you should be really impressed, yes or no? Yes, they are increasing really good. This budget size, which was only 100 rupees, within a period of 1 year, they have increased it by 50%. So it's a really good, tremendous growth. But when you did the post-mortem, what did you find? You found out that these guys have inflated the budget size or increased the budget size not by revenue resource mobilization. Remember these words, understand these things very properly. They have not increased the budget size by revenue resource mobilization. What exactly is this? They have not augmented the earning capacity. Yes, they have not increased the income capacity of the economy. They have simply increased the size by 50 or by 50% simply by taking a loan. They have taken a loan and spent, and hence it is showing as if they are doing really good. So would you be impressed?
No.
Clear? So you would reply to them, you know, you people have simply increased the budget size by 50% simply by taking a loan 50 rupees. So what sort of performance is this? You haven't augmented, haven't augmented any kind of what do you say, revenue resource mobilization. You haven't unlocked any locked potential that we can get future sustainable income. Clear? Now the team of manager, they are reverting back to you. What are they saying? See, sir, you have come here to judge us. But do you know? Now the manager is saying. Manager means the government is saying. Do you know how difficult was it is for us to arrange this 50 rupees loan, because loans are not free. You cannot very easily arrange a loan. So we had to toil day and night. We need to talk to lot many countries to arrange for this loan. We had to talk to World Bank, we had to talk to IMF, we had to talk to ADB. We went for certain sovereign countries, we seek for loan and everything. So it was a very big and a very tough affair for us to even arrange for this 50 rupees. Clear? And again, you reverted back. No, I cannot give you any kind of credit for borrowing from somewhere. That's your view. The government is telling it was a really tough affair for us to borrow money even. You are reverting that no, I cannot give you any kind of credit for that borrowing thing. That means you are telling that I cannot give you credit for borrowing. And about what are you talking? You are talking about now the fiscal deficit. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Borrowing
sir.
means your fiscal deficit. So what the government is telling now, what the team of manager is telling is, sir, if you cannot give us credit for arranging a loan, then you have no right to discredit us for the interest we are making. We are the interest we are paying, because the current year you have taken into account the interest that we had to pay for the previous loan. Yes or no? If you are not giving us credit for the current loan that we have availed, though it was a very tedious, a very tough process for us, then why should we take the onus of paying the interest of somebody who, of my past predecessors who had taken the loan? If you really want to judge us, then please free me out of the interest obligations. Are you getting it?
Yes, sir.
I hope सबको समझ में आया. आपने सरकार को बताया कि जो पैसा आप उधार ला के बजट का साइज बढ़ा रहे हैं, आई कैन नॉट गिव यू क्रेडिट फॉर दैट. दैट मीन्स उधार का पैसा क्या होता है? फिस्कल डेफिसिट. नाउ द सरकार इज रिप्लाइंग और द मैनेजर इज रिप्लाइंग, सर अगर आप मुझे उधार अरेंज करने का, लोन अरेंज करने के लिए अगर क्रेडिट आप देना नहीं चाहते हैं, देन व्हाई शुड आई टेक द रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी ऑफ द इंटरेस्ट पेमेंट, जो कि मेरे पिछले वाले मैनेजमेंट टीम ने लिया था लोन, उसका इंटरेस्ट तो मैं भी चुका रहा हूं. तो अगर मेरा सही कैपेबिलिटी आपको चेक करना है, अगर आप मुझे लोन के लिए क्रेडिट नहीं देना चाहते हैं, तो पहले इंटरेस्ट वाला पोर्शन हटाइए, देन यू गो फॉर अ कैलकुलेशन. थिंग्स वुड बी बेटर क्लियर. दैट एग्जैक्टली व्हेन यू रिमूव द इंटरेस्ट पेमेंट पोर्शन, इंटरेस्ट पेमेंट इज ए रेवेन्यू एक्सपेंडिचर. ये जो इंटरेस्ट पेमेंट वाला पोर्शन व्हेन यू रिमूव out of the fiscal deficit, that's called your primary deficit. Got it now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Clear? So now primary deficit is a concept designed and developed by Dr. Singh, which in fact actually reflects the, you can say, the most or the best way in which you can judge the financial management capacity or the capability or the financial management performance of a particular governmental dispensation. Got it?
Yes,
So
sir.
this is all about the accounting aspect of your budget. We talked about all the deficit, different entry, different columns, different heads. Next is we need to talk about components of budget. I have already discussed revenue and capital budget. We don't have to make any kind of discussion now. Now we'll talk about in the next session about certain very minimal things about like what exactly is your interim budget, what is a regular budget, when it is done, balance surplus deficit तो मैंने बता ही दिया already, what are the merit and demerit आप लोग थोड़ा पढ़ लो, right? You just read. Now in the next class, merits of a deficit budget, we'll talk about something, some concepts like zero based budgeting. You just have a read, right? आपको समझ में आ ही जाएगा. I don't have to cover these all things. We'll go now and next talk about measures of the government deficit and all types. इनके impacts क्या हैं, right? The impact of different deficits, right? You all know the calculations. I have already discussed in detail. You just understand the writings. There could be writings even. Understanding and writing it properly is also equally important for the exam of specific. Clear? So keep on writing. Now next, इसके बाद we'll go straight forward to something called as your deficit financing, public debt in India. The next session we'll talk about the public debt in India. What's the, and when I say public debt in India, we are going back to the concept of a balance sheet of government of India.
when we discuss the budget, it was the income statement of the government of India. Because in case of budget, we talk about particular year. In case of public debt, we'll talk about the complete cumulative stock of things that has resulted over the period of time. And we'll talk about important issues like your FRBM Act, how it restricts the, how it conserves or how it promotes fiscal prudence in the governmental budgeting. And we'll talk about the reforms, tax reforms, and we'll have one more session about the budget and economic survey 2021-22. Clear? This is all about. Thank you. Have a great day.
Sir,
Yes, please. If you have any
Sir,
doubts, go ahead.
yes. So sorry to ask the same question again, sir. Sir, I'm not convinced how the external grant will come under the capital. Because, sir, in case of India, the other countries think that we are not so poor and they send very negligible, very less amount to us. And that will be considered as a gift, right, sir? So very less amount will be sent to us. But how it's still considered under capital, sir?
Okay. Let's research on this, all of us. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Thank
you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.